Hi everybody, wanted to come back and kind of start today's installment with some other tips and demos of things to do with chalk paint and milk paint and all the other little things that go along with it, whether it's molds or transfers and waxes and that kind of stuff. So I'm going to get started right away because honestly my cat Griff is literally right over there and he just looks like he's just waiting to pounce on something over here. So this is what we did yesterday. This was just one coat of paint. I just sanded the edges a little bit. I put on some molds that I had already made up, and I'll show you how to do that tomorrow or Thursday. Glued these on. So that's all I've done with this. So what I'm going to do now is put on clear wax, and then I'm going to put dark wax on it. I put the clear wax on it because you've got to seal it. When you've got chalk paint, you've got to seal it with something, whether it's wax or a polyurethane or a top coat of some kind, but you got to do something because that's when the really beautiful luster and patina of that paint comes out, and it's just meant to be top coated to seal it in. So I'm going to start with that. I do start with the clear coat first, and I love this wax. This is sold at the store, Your Space. Thank you, Cecilia, for reminding me that I never mentioned where the store was. So sorry about that. Anyway, so I put on a coat of clear, and then I do the dark wax if I'm going to use it. I don't put the dark wax straight on it because once it's on there, it's hard to lighten it up if you're not crazy about it. There are those out there that do just start with the dark wax because they know how to control it and they know what their end result is and they know how to get there. I just feel like as a safety net, I always put on clear first, and that's how I teach how to do it. And then, you know what, you get more comfortable with it. You know how it kind of penetrates different paints and woods and that sort of thing. Do whatever you want because that's the beauty of all these products. There's no one way to do anything. So that's a cool thing. It's one of the reasons why I love it. You just kind of make it your own. So there are two ways to put on wax. You can put it on with a wax brush, which is great when you're dealing with little nooks and crannies like with these birds. There's little grooves, that sort of thing. And in flat surfaces, I feel like it's easiest just to use a t-shirt. And with this particular wax, I can't say it for all waxes, although I would think it'd be okay. You put on the wax with the t-shirt or with a brush. You let it sit for 3 minutes to really kind of penetrate and settle, and then you buff it off, and you buff it off with like a cut-up towel. And with this wax, it just becomes like a sheet of glass. It's just beautiful. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. It doesn't take a lot. Of course, I've got the dog here. Let me pick him up so we can say hi. So it's St. Patrick's Day. And little Finn looks like a little Irishman because he's cute and he's got all of his little freckles. So there we go. So if it's not a cat, it's a dog. There we go. Gabrielle, would you let him out? Sorry about that. So let's see. So I'm just putting it on. I'm not buffing it. I'm just getting it on there. You can see that it's just... the paint looks a little darker. That's kind of how you know it's on there. It's not going to stay like that, but it does look deeper and richer. So I'm going to do half of it just this second to see. Yeah, you can kind of see that line right there of this is waxed and this is not waxed. So isn't that interesting? So I'm going to do the entire thing, but I just want to kind of show you that. You don't want to put on too much because it doesn't take a lot. And honestly, a container like this is going to last you for ages and ages. And that's even if you use it a lot. So I'm doing it right on top of the transfer. I'm not avoiding anything. Getting it on there. Really making sure I'm getting around it. Now, I am going to use this just so I can get into the grooves of the birds. It's just easier. Otherwise, it really would take me forever. You know what? I'm going to put on my glasses so I can make sure it's on there. You can do little circles just to know it's in there. Yeah. Got a fair amount of wax on this brush. Probably a little too much, but it's all right. I'll just buff it a little more later because you don't want it tacky. So if it's tacky, you're going to definitely be buffing that off more. Here we go. I've got some left over, so I'm going to go ahead, make sure I got those sides. And you know, on the sides there's that little groove, so I want to make sure I'm in there. This little piece of wood was at Hobby Lobby, and I think it was like, I think it was $4.99, and then, you know, you get that 40% off. So for a little nothing piece of wood and some paint stuff, this is really going to end up quite cute. You know, it'd be cute to do like a series of 4 of them. Different colors, different birds, different, you know. That'd be really cute, and then kind of arrange them. So I've got this on there. The hardest part, the hardest thing is waiting the 3 minutes till you can buff. So I'm going to set it to the side, and while we're waiting, I'm going to show you a color wash technique. So this is that trim that I painted yesterday. I did that in French vanilla. And I like doing a color wash in similar colors, colors that aren't too different. So what I've got is Pebble Beach by Country Chic. It's a really pretty gray. It's a gorgeous gray. And what I'm going to do is I take the paint on my brush, in this case, and I'm going to swirl it around with just a little bit of water, so it's kind of watery. Because, you know, just like the name implies, it's a color wash. The cool thing with this, so I'm going to paint it on and basically wipe it off. So it's watered down. I want to get into the grooves because that's kind of where it's going to stay. So you don't have to make yourself crazy about jumping right on it to remove it. It's fine. Granted, you don't necessarily want it to dry completely, but at the same time, if you're doing a large piece, I do large areas, wipe it off, and then move on to the next. And I always have my little cup of water with a little bit of soap in there. This is just a paper towel. It's a little damp, but I think I'm going to make it a little wetter. And now I'm just going to wipe it off. So you see that. I always start out super light because it's easier just to keep wiping as opposed to just feeling like, oh, I just took it all off. That was worthless. Let me do it all over again. So that's really pretty cool. It's honestly one of my favorite techniques. Now, if I wanted, I could add more water and take off more, but I really kind of like it like that. I'm going to let that sit for a second. I have another color. This is a leftover chalk paint from General Finishes when they made chalk paint. Unfortunately, they don't make it anymore, but the color's great. And thankfully, a lot of places do have that color, so that's good. Or color similar to it. I'm going to put a little more water in here. And I'm going to try a color. Oh, sorry. The cat just jumped on the chair and made this bounce all around. Sorry about that. I'm telling you. These cats. There we go. See, I'm not really using much. I'm putting it in there. I'm watering it down. This is with a little bit of that leftover, the gray that I just had in here. So I didn't necessarily think I was going to do this one, but I thought, why not? So That was such a thin little color wash that this is almost dry. It's not necessarily in the grooves, but it really is pretty. Isn't that pretty? So now I'm going to go over it just to see, maybe I'll just do it in an area with that really beautiful turquoisey color. I'm just going to go in a couple of spots with it because I like the gray that's on there. And I don't want to lose all that. Let's set that there. I'm just going to spray this a little bit. So you can do a color wash with a couple colors, with one color on top of another. It's just a really sheer, watery blending, and it's pretty. And it's nice to add kind of those layers of interest. That's really pretty, and I hope that this lighting shows it. But you can see, you can see the gray, you can see that really pretty turquoisey blue, and you see how sheer it is. So on a particular project, that could really be pretty. And I could even wipe off a little more on here just for fun. But remember, this was just a regular piece of regular trim, and we've done so much with it. Imagine if it were a desk or a piece of furniture, and it was one solid coat of paint and just a color wash. And literally, you could leave it at this and wax it or top coat it and be done. Or you could add stuff with molds or transfers or darker glaze, which maybe I'll do that one tomorrow. Because I think tomorrow I'm going to be doing glazes and that sort of thing. So that's color washing, and that's literally the full extent of it. I watered it down, the paint, just a little bit. I brushed it on and I wiped it off. And if let's say it dries a little bit too much and you're a little disappointed, get your paper towel wet and just lightly rub, and it will come up because it hasn't settled, it hasn't cured. You just put it on there. So that's that. Again, anytime you guys have questions on anything, don't hesitate to let me know. That's that. I'm going to put this in here. So back to this. I'm thinking it's been about 3 minutes. I hope it has. Like I said, it's the hardest thing to do is to be patient, waiting the 3 minutes. I've got my clean towel, and I'm just going to start buffing. You don't have to rub hard, and you don't want to rub too hard. And with this, if you don't have that really nice shiny effect, if that's what you want, which is usually what I want, you can always put on another coat. I might put a little more on here, and then while I'm waiting for that, I am going to be buffing these guys. But let me throw on, let's see, wrong one. Because I love it when it's really shiny. So. Sometimes I feel like chalk paint kind of soaks up moisture too. I know it doesn't make a lot of sense because it's wax, but I feel like it soaks in. Oh, sorry about the dog. Gabrielle, would you let him out? That's our fierce attack dog. Always at work. There we go. I'm going to leave that for a second. With these guys, you know how delicate they are. I'm just going to buff softly. Now you guys might not see all that much because it's just clear wax on white, so that's not all that interesting. But it will work out in the end. And you'll see all the differences at the end, especially when I put on the dark, because that's really going to be beautiful. These molds are so detailed, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. And you know, I'm going to be in the store at Your Space tomorrow. I think I'm just going to take a little video of all the different kinds of molds they have because it's amazing. The other thing that's kind of cool is that these molds are also food safe. So if you like making chocolates or that sort of thing, you could make, I mean, these could be made in chocolate, which is amazing to me. Okay. I'm going to get to work on that a little bit. So you probably can't notice too much of a difference, but you can see that the color is definitely richer, and in person it is very, very pretty. I love that. So now is kind of the fun part. So I'm going to use the Rugger Brown from Fitty's Wax. Different wax brush, because you know, you got to have one for clear and the other one for each color, otherwise everything's going to end up kind of muddy. So now with this brush, I'm getting into those grooves, which is where I want. And then when I buff it off, it's going to come off with the high points, but stay in the grooves. Now I'll just do a little, kind of a light brush. It just gives everything a little bit of texture when you do this kind of stuff. And now I'm going to get him. Get into those grooves. I get it at all angles. Just want to make sure I go really deep between that. The other kind of nice thing is, like, let's say you were a little heavy with the glue and some little blurb of glue came out and you didn't kind of get it wiped up or kind of picked up with a toothpick. That's all right. This is still going to cover it. But again, you want to get all the way around all those nooks and crannies, because the deeper the spot, you really want that dark wax in there. So you can kind of see the details on the birds coming out a bit. Now I realize just like this, it doesn't look so great, but I am going to be buffing it. I'm just going to kind of frame the edges with the dark wax, so it really helps bring it out a little bit. That's the beauty of waxing and glazing the details. And I'm also going to get the sides, because you know there's just a little groove right around here that I want to get to. hope you guys find this interesting. It's kind of quiet, but that's how it is. But it is kind of amazing. In such a short time, you can get. It almost feels like instant gratification because it's not taking a lot of time to be able to get this kind of result. So I'll go all the way around here. All right. So again, the hard part, I've got to leave it alone for a few minutes before I buff it. But while we're waiting, I was kind of thinking of next week starting a project, a brand new project like a table, and showing you my process like beginning to end. Like the first day is I'm cleaning it up, filling any holes it's got or chips or any of that jazz, really prepping it for painting, and then painting and then antiquing and sealing and all the little parts in between. So I was thinking of maybe starting that on Monday. If that's interesting to you, give me a thumbs up or a comment, or if it just seems like the most boring thing in the world that you have no interest in, you can let me know that too. But I'm happy to share the knowledge that I have on all this kind of stuff. So might as well, since we're kind of hanging in as it is. Now I hope you can kind of see all that's all dried now. I'd still let it dry longer before I go ahead and top coat or wax, but really pretty. Really, I like that a lot. You know, creams, light blues and grays, they really blend beautifully. Or if you're going to use like a kind of a sagey gray green, that would be pretty with the gray and cream too. But it's almost like if there's a little gray to something, having a gray wash is really pretty. And if it's a different tone, kind of bringing that out with that second color is kind of cool too. So I'm just going to see what happens in here. Now as you buff, you see the dark is kind of being worked into the grooves. It's being worked into the grooves of the wood as well as into that bottom layer of clear coat. So again, I'm just buffing along here. Now the beauty of having a clear coat as that base coat is that if I put on too much, let's say I'm not really liking how it turned out, I can go back with the clear and it's almost like an eraser. It's not perfect eraser, but it takes up an awful lot of it. So you're not locked into anything that you don't like. I love that little shine. I don't know if you guys can see it. There's a real pretty little shine because of the wax. go over these guys. And then what I think I'm going to do when I'm all done with these birds, I might gently give it a little touch of gold wax. That will just be on the very tips of the surface. It's going to be really subtle, nothing harsh, really. Hi, Terry. So just to recap with these birds, it's an air clay that I did paint, even though the paint really wasn't that much different than the air clay. But I wanted to get them painted because I was going to be waxing it. And this would be a kind of a fun thing also to have done a color wash on that too. So again, when you wax, that wax settles into the deeper grooves. And as we kind of do this polishing, it's like I'm buffing, I'm taking it off the surface, but I'm also kind of buffing it so it has that nice shine. And I'm just really doing it quite softly. So you can see I did take off a fair amount of the dark. This guy I'm going to work on a little more because he really has got a lot of little grooves. Yeah, that's looking better. I just want to take off a little more of the dark wax on the top parts. I didn't want them to be too dark, but I do love all the details. I'm going to be delicate with this little wing. There we go. Yeah, that's lighter. That's better. Now I'm kind of working on the wax that's on the wood, kind of between feathers, because I want to take it off in there a bit. Like, I like that it's dark around it, but I want to just little lighten it up around. I've got this right in the shot here. So in the future, I'm going to be talking about glazes, and glazes can come in any color. And I've got a beautiful Van Dyke brown glaze that really kind of mimics dark wax. For being in the grooves and that sort of thing. And I also have a white glaze, which I'm going to be putting on an old vanity desk that I've painted gray. And I thought it'd be cool to have a white glaze that's just in the grooves to bring out those details than the traditional darker, like browns and that sort of thing. So it's almost like You know, it's a vintage antique desk with a little kind of playful modern twist on it, having the white glaze, kind of updated. Now I'm going to be doing that later this week. So I'm going to keep on polishing this, but I want to see if I've got my gold wax. Hang on one second. Oh, good, I do. All right. So this is gold wax. And I'm just gonna touch a bit on the feathers. So, see just a little on my finger. And again, I always start out super, super light, because the nice thing about wax is if I put on too much and I didn't like it, I could buff it off. But you don't want to have to do that. Now this is gonna be lighter. Really kind of a subtle sheen. Oh, Lord, is that pretty. I love gold. I really do. It's super subtle. I hope the camera will get it. And if it doesn't, get it for this, I'll try to take some really good pictures to bring it out, because it just looks beautiful. And again, you saw they were just molds. And now with all these layers of stuff on it, they look beautiful. Can you kind of see that little glimmer of gold? Not real heavy, but that on top of dark wax, I think it's gorgeous. I do love this. I love these molds. You know, IOD has molds of like really ornate antique locks, the kind you'd put on a dresser or a desk or that sort of thing, and it's all a mold that you can just glue onto a real plain front dresser or whatever. And it's just so cool. So I think I'm gonna have to get one of those from the store, Your Space, tomorrow, just to show you how to do these and just how easy it is to do. I painted one mold a midnight blue, and it's beautiful, and then I put some of this, the gold wax on it. It looks stunning, and it looks incredibly old. All right, so you can see, hopefully that focuses, those little gold shimmers. So here's my piece. I'm still going to work on it. I'm going to put a little more wax and really buff it, because I really want a gorgeous, gorgeous shine. But you may not want to just hang out and watch me doing that. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, and I'll show you tomorrow how it ends up, or the next day if I do the Facebook Live from the store. But so here we are so far, and I'll show you when I'm all finished. Again, any questions on any techniques that you've seen on my Facebook page or on my Instagram account, and you want to see how to do that, definitely let me know. I'm happy to cover it. And we'll go from there. And again, let me know if you'd be interested in seeing me do a project from start to finish next week. And I'll show you every step in between. And let me know if that would be of interest to you. Anyway, have a great afternoon. Bye. And happy St. Patrick's Day.